All right. Hi, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. Certainly, yeah. Um, I think I should maybe tackle this right away. I'm maybe gonna be a little bit less my normal self. I had a bit of an unpleasant something over the weekend, so I am not. Brad will have to wait right now. It's fine. Um, I am, yeah. Uh, I'm just not gonna pretend I'm gonna. I've had a pet of mine that I had for over 14 years pass away, and some of you maybe see this as well a non-event. For me, it was very unpleasant, still is. So I struggle to pretend to be my own happy self. I will not pretend, but we still need to go over what is going on. I still want to do this with you boys and girls. It has nothing to do with how I feel. This is the stuff we do regardless. I'm just not going to be necessarily all that happy and all that stuff. But otherwise, we will go over our regular stuff. I don't think you guys should feel depressed or down because, you know, anything. So, um, some family. Let's not dwell on this, Joe. Thank you. Yes, correct. That's our family. That is true. That is true. Uh, Anywho, let's not dwell on this. Let's proceed. Let's do what we came here to do. What we need to do. The reality is, 1 minute, as we know, is not all that interesting. It's kind of boring, really. Usually, it will switch over back and forth. Right now, we're seeing sort of this. We're a bit on the upside. It's kind of boring, as I said. It's not really doing anything. It's sort of in between, very sluggish. A bit on the upside, but not all that surprising. We opened up with a gap. We retained some momentum to that upside, clearing all the way to that resistance, starting to correct to the downside. Nothing all that surprising, at least what we get on the 1 minute. On the 5 minutes, we know to be a little bit more attentive to the momentum because momentum starts to be a little bit more interesting. Here we see we're actually just got into oversold territory, and doesn't surprise me all that much. We pretty much finished up this process as we were going through the beginning of the session. Those of you who know, it's kind of today is kind of important. Today is the final day before the month closes, so it's kind of very important. Tomorrow we're gonna have a whole fresh new month and a whole new fresh quarter that will give us some interesting movement. So let's follow up on the price action as is. And so 30 minutes is not all that exciting. I think that looks to be sort of back and forth, but I would assume at face value it is sort of pointing to the bullish. At face value right now, it's turning around, becoming bearish, but let's all agree that seems to be more bullish than bearish. Let's look at the 45 minutes. 45 minutes confirms that, at least temporarily. So we don't know if that's going to be sort of this longer procedure. Pardon me. Mistake. Okay, why is that still there? Okay, let's clean this up. So this in-between procedure seems to be at face value right now more bullish than bearish, but we're seeing movement towards convergence here. We will see what that 45 will look like very, very soon. The 1 hourly did not really penetrate back into the body of the indicator, so we still are technically speaking bearish, but having some relief by having that K dominant. Basically, the green line, once it becomes dominant, represents the dominance of the bullish momentum. If we have bullish momentum dominant but in oversold territory, it just mitigates the effects. Okay, so that's kind of what it is. Thank you, Pablo. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. 4 hours starting to break further into the downside, something we foresaw coming. We spoke about this in the previous sessions. We foresaw this indicator starting to break back into oversold, well, back into the body, and the curve slightly steepening to the downside. Of course, sort of accelerating this process to getting to oversold. Once we get oversold, we really are going to feel the brunt of this thing. It all makes sense knowing we have that gap below, so we're waiting for that gap to be filled. Once the gap is filled, we're more free to see what we're really about to do. This starts to form more of this head and shoulders pattern, which those who understand that these patterns are not that surprising. It's basically a part of an overarching trend, if you will, and something that's inherently inevitable. No cup and handles, as you can see. The cup and handle is just a temporary bullshit thing that is just, what about the rest of the pattern and the harmonics? So that's a bit of those. And by the way, those who didn't notice, doing that would be a travesty, because then you're just ignoring that it's actually an inverted head and shoulders. That's not how it works. All right, no one paves a road here and there and just skips. Train tracks don't skip. They go throughout all the way, same way the market should. And people who do not speak about this obviously are not familiar with the structure, but that's all right. That's what I'm here for, boys and girls, to let you know what the market is trying to do, or at least to show you my own reading into things. Yes, as we've expected, we're becoming slightly more bearish over time. This is not yet confirmation that we're breaking back down, but let's be realistic. We understand that being in overbought territory for all that long and actually having a very temporary, very short relief in the process in between brings about this correction. So that's starting to make a lot more sense to what we are seeing on that weekly. That weakness that we're seeing on the weekly, on the momentum indicator, also correlates directly to what we're seeing on the daily. Really, it all hinges on the monthly, which we know we're finally about to have closed today. Within about 3 hours and 3 minutes, we're going to have today's session finalized and today's candles to get locked. And finally, we're going to see how the next month is going to look like for us. Are we going to proceed, or am I right? And this is going to be the final step before we start to break down to the downside, right? The reason we perceive this, as we said, we are seeing here far more of a downwards overarching larger structure, although it takes forever to switch. And yes, we have been able to squeeze more momentum out of the market in that process, right? It doesn't change the fact of the matter that the larger cycles in the market are basically inevitable and have been for the last 100 years. And, well, I don't think we're going to be able to escape it this time around. Especially under the conditions. And there is a video coming out. Potentially, I am looking at another factor that might make things a lot more difficult, and there is a video in the works. Hopefully, I'm gonna feel a little bit better, less under the weather, and I will make a video that will describe one more reason why I think things are about to get very troubling. And most, of course, we're going to see a readjustment in the quarterly as we were waiting. You can see the quarterly also closes in about 3 hours, just like the monthly. So this gives us a longer duration perception of what we really might expect from the upcoming trend. So we might finally look at this tie up, especially in the upcoming weeks, more so, because remember, these processes do not happen overnight. This is not just we're not gonna wake up tomorrow and now it's to the downside. More so, it might slip out of these two lines that I set up. They are there just to emphasize and show the idea, right? To highlight the idea. Doesn't mean that's exactly how it's going to pan out. Slippage, of course, is a normal thing, just like you can see right here on the lower end of the indicator. If we're building here a direct sort of structure, yes, things will deviate. In fact, it's a lot more convoluted than I present here. But all the technical indicators are showing for a loss of momentum and thus a breakdown. And we see that, of course, we have a far overarching, larger, big problem right here on the 12-month, which is the largest chart we can use for this sort of reading. And that looks as it is on the process of turning around. Remember, on the 12 months, these measurements get expanded, everything becomes far larger, they become far longer, basically, to finalize the process, if you will, right? It takes a lot longer. Every process takes, thousands of days, which, as you can read into this, these are full, basically, intermediate cycles in the market. And you need to know how these cycles work, how the mechanism works, and how long these processes can happen in the market and how deep they can actually bring the market lower. Remember, now it all looks very squeezed, very tiny, but remember that the drop from here to here was, just to be more precise, would have taken about 1,000, almost 100 days. To the downside was basically 47% of a correction, right? So, and that's not even being accurate. If I really want to be accurate, I would go and say this way, which gives you 50.50. Really, it was 51, I remember. So, and here you have 58. That is that. All right. Let's look at the price action from up close and personal. Let's see what it's doing. It looks like we're moving to the downside. Nothing all that surprising. All right, let's look at stuff from afar. Let's zoom in. And there we go. We're tumbling to the downside. Nothing all that surprising. Hello, Murad. Hello, everybody. Smash. Smash and bell the ring for Greg. Christoph, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, if you could, that would really help the channel. Pardon me for being a little bit on the quieter side today. Again, I've had something unpleasant on the personal side of things over the weekend, so I'm a little bit under the weather, but again, don't worry about it. Everything will be fine. Of course, the market is not doing much. Apple today is going bananas. That doesn't really change much about things. We are still expecting it to break back down. Of course, we saw it testing that range, but we're expecting to break back down to the 217, and subsequently, once it reaches and fails to proceed, the expectation with it is to continue to the downside. Meta today, what is Meta doing? Meta doing nothing all that interesting. I see like a lot of the assets today, a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. You know, new fresh week, we see this a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, down, up, but nothing all that substantial. We're basically moving to the side, more of this sideways price action. SoFi still stuck between 8 and 6, so no news on that front. Plug is also quite sideways, pretty boring. Affirm very much sideways. Again, if you really are objective, that would be the continuation of last week. Tesla, again, not surprising, not really doing anything all that impressive, just kind of squeezing out a little bit of that bullish momentum that we have left. We know we closed the gap. The market is more than prepped and ready to start correcting to the downside back to that support that we've been retaining for quite a long time. The trend line, oh, that's madness. That is some wicked madness right there. All right. And that's that, boys and girls. So nothing all that surprising, nothing we haven't seen nor expected. We said the market would be going sideways, very boring prior to close. More so today's candlestick, although as important as it is, I don't think we're going to be able to reach newer highs nor break too low prior to the candlestick closing. So there might be some knee-jerk reaction towards the end of the session, as you're going to have the quarter close. You're going to have the month close. A lot of options expire, I believe. So due to expectations from the option chain, we might see some more volatile movement. All in all, but then again, we don't expect anything all that, insane. So yeah, most interesting stuff will start happening from tomorrow onwards, and doesn't necessarily mean tomorrow we'll wake up to a whole, insane market. It might be boring in the beginning. Can say that completely understand. Right, Chris? Thank you. I think many of us can relate. Sadly, I still miss my Pomeranian who passed almost 2 years ago. Yeah, of course, we'll remember all our pets. I remember it's not like this is the first pet that sadly I've lost. More so she sadly passed right in my arms, which I don't know if which would have been worse or better if I would have been around or not. I definitely was able to try and do compressions on her chest and try and resuscitate her, even trying this sort of mouth-to-mouth resuscitation thing. I've tried everything I could at the time. I feel like it still hurts, of course, regardless of. Didn't feel like she was in pain a lot. It felt like a heart attack or a brain aneurysm or something of that sort. It was very, very quick. But yeah, it doesn't. There is no way it's gonna feel any better. Obviously, it's not that anything can make it better this way. Ended up, I don't know if that's funny or not. Ended up by mistake burying her with a ring of mine. Maybe I'll go and pick it up someday. We'll get charged with her essence, if you will. The more religious people here probably tend to believe in these things. Just a coincidence. Things happen. Yeah, no, it's just unpleasant. It just put me off. It's just hard to have a good mood when that's the situation. Are you bullish on the market over a longer term period? Pablo, that depends on your perception. What is longer term period? We've discussed this in the community quite a bit, that perception of time. You see, my longer term might not necessarily match your perception of longer term. If we're talking, in the ranges of 5, 6, 7, 10, not even 5, but more so like 10 years, yes. I am, on the grand scheme of things, the market is a bullish entity, and for it to break or change substantially enough not to be bullish, we humans need to change substantially. And as it was once very wisely said, you see, a person is smart, but we, the people, are psychotic, neurotic, anxious, unstable, and also crazy, idiotic, whatever, you choose, right? The person is smart, the individual person is smart, but as a whole, on the grand scheme of things, we are very, very fragile in our minds, and sadly, these sort of processes are not things that do not come with its own things that I'm expecting it's not that they don't come with their own reverberation effects, but subsequently at the end of the day, when these things pass over, when things truly become better, inherently the market will be better. In fact, the market is forward looking, so probably the market will be getting better far before the conditions will be. That's actually really how things play out oftentimes, which puts skepticism, in people's mind. Then is a possibility, at what time frame does your bullish outlook start? I'm not gonna try and time the market, Pablo. Those who know here, what's happening in the market can postpone, prolong, change maybe somewhat, but it's not gonna sort of the path. And I often equate this. Imagine if you came out of home going to wherever, right, and you were about to take an exit on the highway that you were intended to take, and suddenly that exit is blocked. Does that change your destination? No, it doesn't. My outlook is as such. It's more about the necessary events to take place and how long they may take. Usually, if we look at at history, these events take anywhere between a year and a half ish up to closer to 2 years, really up to 3 years, right? Just the downtrend itself. Of course, there's the corrective procession. The corrective procession doesn't necessarily is recognized immediately. It's sketchy. There's a lot of factors that play into this. So I would argue that within the 3 to 4 years, I believe we will see, which is sadly closer towards the potentially, if Trump will be able to actually make it to the White House towards the end of Trump's upcoming candidacy, hoping we are right and he will take. So, psychotic, I don't know if erotic, but neurotic, maybe you wanted to say. Erotic, sometimes. Psychotic erotic is not bad. It also works sometimes. uh, we went 50 Shades of Grey here, I see. Psychotic erotic. Right. Uh, can both narratives be correct where we see some of the downside you foresee in October before November, December rally mentioned by Tom? Right, we should have. Look, the thing is, people still try to attribute seasonality appropriately as it should be to the current market. Current market is out of whack. It's abnormal, and thus seasonality is out of whack as well. We've seen that over the month of August. That should not be as great as it has been, nowhere near. So we are right now kind of out of whack, and things are a bit are not where they should be in terms of the chronological location. So don't really expect seasonality to play out perfectly as expected. We are in an election year when we're getting closer. So we have, as far as I understand, we have about a month and a half. I always get this wrong when the actual election, when everything gets summed up and that's it, we get the final result. Always get it a bit wrong, but I know we have about a month and a half still. So yeah, appreciate the answers, Outlook. Thank you for answering. My pleasure, Pablo. What do you mean? The fact that I'm under the weather doesn't mean I'm not gonna do these nor answer questions. I really enjoy the conversation. This also helps me take my mind off of things as well. Plus, it's just something I'm gonna do anyway. So why at least not share it with you guys? I mean, that's part of. I really like this. I'm not kidding, boys and girls. This really does help. This the camaraderie. It's hard to explain. I guess you have to go through a very similar path to mine to understand what it is that I appreciate in what we're doing here. Um, yeah, I started reading Denny's question. Can both narratives be correct? Where we see some of the downside. You see, yeah, Dennis, I started answering the same mentioned by Tom. I would presume the downturn TA indicates will take many months. Yes, correct. Look, even Tom, and myself, well, both Toms really, at least recently, Tom Lee is also kind of back on saying, guys, things are going to be problematic. At least so they foresee. They, of course, retain the bullish overarching thesis, which, generally speaking, I agree. I just think they are trying to downplay how things are going to be bad. That allows them to sell longer into the that correction, beneficial for them. Pardon me. And it's not just about whether we all agree that volatility is in the works. It's more so how that seasonality and how the election year and everything and the technical analysis are basically showing this to look out, to come out, sorry, at the end of the day, and it's not going to be straightforward. Because of conditions, because of how market tends to be, because of how close most levels are currently, I'm not going to be all that surprised to see the market actually retesting many levels back and forth. Those of you who stayed this long, I'm going to be making a video. There is, actually, I'm going to bring it up on the screen right now. Those of you who are Investory members actually being more up to speed. I will show you what I mean. Oh, I see it's starting to take a little bit more when it comes to being shared information about the strikes. Time running out, going to avoid crippling U.S. ports strike. Yeah, give me a sec, boys and girls. I'm gonna bring it up. This is actually CNN's posting. Shout out to Judy who just posted that. Right. I'm gonna bring it in. Give me a sec, boys and girls. Here it is. Right. So we have. By the way, we have Fear and Greed currently on Greed, so not that surprising. Although, yeah, it switches over back and forth. You really need to know how to look at this. But 6-minute read, I see it was updated today. So time running out to avoiding crippling U.S. port strike. Those of you who are here and stayed all this long, here's a bonus for you. Those who are still not aware, there is a looming strike in the U.S. ports. The East Coast ports are saying, in fact, I'm not gonna say the numbers. So 1 week strike one would cost the U.S. economy about 2.1 billion, according to an estimate Monday from the Anderson Economic Group, a Michigan research firm with expertise in estimating a cost of strikes and other disruptions. So most of that would most of that would be a 1.5 billion dollar loss in value. Okay, so of some of the what was that? Of some of the goods. Yeah, so like, you understand, because some things expire and they are the limited in time how quickly they can get them onto the shelves and orders and whatnot. The two sides want. Well, we understand. There were all one side doesn't want to pay, the other side wants more money. So business watch and worry. All right. So yeah, that's gonna bring up a lot of reverberation effects potentially. So there's that. Now you're aware of what's going on. What is that thing that I'm talking about? Yeah. Where were we? Judy just joining. Hello, Judy. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello, hello. Jean, hello. I'm so sorry, Greg. My condolences for your loss. Pets are our family. That often becomes very true. Especially, yeah, the ones that we end up having for many, many, many years. Yeah, it's true. Yes, we have a Patreon link there. Nannies, thank you very much. Join our Patreon, Discord. Make sure you understand that neither myself nor Tom nor any of our members will reach our staff of the moderators or admins will reach out to you randomly out of nowhere and start offering you brokerages and crypto and all sorts of scammy sounding things. We will never do none of that stuff. So if you have been reached out by something very weird, suspicious, or the profile, I'm going to show you, boys and girls, real quick how my profile looks like. Oh, Tom has a video, boys and girls. Don't forget to watch Tom's video. Tom makes videos that nowhere near competing with the quality of the stuff I can do. So, and hold or sell. And that looks very interesting. So I highly recommend. Don't forget to smash the like when you watch Tom's videos as well. Just something I wanted to mention and highlight. Notice that if you first of all, if you are on the computer and you're not seeing that list of members, doesn't matter whether in the members partition or in the public partition, it doesn't matter. What you should be able to see is this list of members on the right side of things. The way you turn it on or off is with this little button, the show members list, right? You can see that right there. Oh, no, wrong thing. Okay. All right, but it's right here. So once you turn it on, you will be able to click my profile, and you'll be able to see that you see my profile is highly animated, everything is moving, and so is Tom's. Okay, Tom's profile is also highly animated. As you can see, he has Leo right here, or Kramer, for example, oftentimes, and you see he has all sorts of like moving stuff. I don't know why his profile is appearing this way to me, but it should be moving as well. Regardless, notice that he has special roles, special colors, and all sorts of stuff that scammers cannot mimic. So be attentive to that beautiful stuff. Also, when you join us on our Discord, which Nannies will post a link in the Discord here in the chat, or probably posted one already. Don't forget, once you do join in, you need to go into the rules, and you need to confirm the rules with this button. If you already connected your accounts, just as we described right here in the FAQ, the frequently asked questions, if you already connected your account to Patreon, you will skip over that step entirely. So don't worry about not seeing nor needing to confirm this. You already confirmed this prior, so don't worry about that little bit. Also, you'll see all the same stuff, whether it's the welcome, our hyperlinks and everything, the moderator's information, and the rules and all that beautiful stuff is located right here in the welcome, which will be replaced with the FAQ and rules. So don't worry about these sort of things. All right, boys and girls. Now that's settled. Let's look at the price action. Nothing all that exciting. Nothing that we have not expected. Pardon me. Paul is speaking today. Unexpectedly, any thoughts? No, I don't think he's gonna say anything new at this point. He's gonna probably reiterate and repeat and try. Look, you need to understand that he cannot, even everything is bad. Like, look at this. Imagine this. If he's a smart human being, right? And obviously there's a reason why he has his job. He and, well, the rest of the feds understand, at least enough of them, which is all a big charade in all reality. But they understand that if JP comes out and says that everything is bad, you guys are just sort of conveys, lack of confidence, or just tries to convey that everything is bad and going to get worse. Everything will be, it is a self-amplifying, self-fortifying effect, right? The more he's gonna make it feel as if things are bad, the more people will get worried, subsequently will execute more. Other people who don't understand what's going on will see the execution, will see what's going on in the market, will start executing themselves. So basically we're gonna have that cascade effect, right? And they understand that, and they are trying to bring that plane down in the most controlled manner that they humanly can. And everybody already assumed that that's it, that the fact that the feds are cutting, it's a soft landing. So far, every time around that we had recessionary conditions, and again, the argument of whether we do have recessionary conditions, in my argument, we do. We can see that through the job the job market. Basically, you can see that through. You can see that sort of in every part of the economy. If it's inflation, cumulative inflation that we need to deal with, housing market, commercial real estate is suffering unlike before. Shipping, which potentially is going to be impacted furthermore tomorrow, if I remember correctly, tomorrow. That's where the strike potentially might start if it's not going to be resolved, which doesn't seem like Biden is moving his ass to resolve any of these issues. So, in fact, I think he basically already decided that he's going to not invoke a rule that potentially would have stopped the ports from striking, because that can cripple the economy, right? And we're talking about, every single day costing you guys billions, basically. So in the realms of the billions, right? So that's that. And of course, subsequently, it's gonna cripple the entire supply chain. We're not talking about how China seems like it's getting ready for war. Every day just gets more and more. China is just a paper tiger and has been falling apart forever. And this is nothing new. It's just that China is big. A lot of people. The falling apart process is very slow. But those who are attentive understand and see what's going on in China. So it doesn't seem like China is getting any better. It seems like China is actually getting worse. And potentially you know, looking at a regional war. People think China, Taiwan. China has a problem with everybody there, not just Taiwan. Let's just be clear. Um, what else? Of course, we have oil prices still being elevated, although relatively. I mean, 68 is being below 70. People are like, oh, this is low. We're going. No, this is, yeah, we've pulled to the downside, right? We had a move to the downside. Now we're kind of testing the lower end of the channel, which is normal. In fact, this time we had no deviation. We pretty much stayed within the confines of the trend. Probably will go back testing this 70 again, knowing, but retaining the trend. Once we break up, we know the overall structure is far more bullish than it's bearish on energy, and have been. We're just kind of squeezing that bearish momentum for a long time. More so, we know that there was a fundamental reason to why there was a big reserve of up to 6, maybe even more percent of all oil reserves found not far away from Kuwait. So, and they're being very stingy about it. Makes sense. More so, those who don't realize it yet, oil doesn't seem to be a real problem on the planet. It's just that the economy and how it's built and how it should be built, and retaining stability, of course, is really important. So that all plays into oil prices. BRICS is a just don't talk to me about BRICS. Don't ever ask me about BRICS. BRICS is like honor among thieves. It's non-existent for all I care. It's a dumpster fire. Don't ask me about the BRICS. People who believe in the BRICS, I have a nice story for you. Have you heard about Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny? Okay. All right. I hope that answered that question. Now, Santa says oil is going to be expensive. Yeah, if you listen to Jamie Dimon, who is a brilliant analyst and proven himself to notice trends that a lot of people miss, and whether he himself is that brilliant or had, because he has brilliant people working for him, that doesn't matter. I believe it's more it's actually both things. He himself is quite brilliant, and look, when he's willing to put JP Morgan's name behind it, which he is, and it's not just him. There are plenty of analysts who are talking about these things and mentioning. Most people like to highlight how when we are prepared for a pullback or a correction or even a crash, it never happens, and that's true. But the problem is that you guys are surrounded by people who are smart enough to emphasize and highlight the problem we have right now for what it is, rather than try and sugarcoat it. And if you look outside, in fact, sort of outside the community, outside most communities, outside of most reliable people in the industry, and people who are basically talking heads of the media, and these communities, in fact, are very bullish. They don't see any correction. They think the bears are few to none. And the narrative outside of our tight-knit community of people who highlight the problems that we foresee ahead, that we've been foreseeing for quite some time, and knew that they were probably going to pan out the way they have, unless resolved before we hitting the wall, which we have hit the wall a while ago at this stage. So sadly, yes, conditions have not changed. That Mr. Donald Trump does not have magical fairy dust in his pocket. So even if we're lucky enough to eventually have him win the candidacy, and actually win the elections and actually take the candidacy and go into the White House, sadly, what the Democrats have cooked up for him is so bad, in my opinion. And they're just, it's not that they cooked this. I should reiterate and explain. They have, in a way, but more so when they had the ability to solve this in the correct way and bring about conditions that will not bring about this shitty market that we have right now and potential very painful future. Instead, they understood that there is a very high likelihood that they're about to lose the upcoming elections. And that to me also smells like very pragmatic thinking by the, if you ask me, some of the people who were behind Biden's administration from the get-go, which, if you ask me, was Obama and Pelosi and the whole gang, right? They were basically playing puppet with Biden and maybe probably coming with a certain consensus to how they should go about it. And Biden was just the sock puppet that was presenting it to us. That's the honest opinion that I have. You can call me crazy tinfoil hat guy, whatever. I don't care. That's my humble opinion about things. And they knew, they were planning. They in fact, we can see evidence to that because they started Trump proofing things. Like baby proofing. You wouldn't Trump proof the obligations the U.S. has towards the European Union and really towards Ukraine and Israel as well. Weirdly enough, they even did things they didn't want to do. It's just hilarious. Although Trump is far more of a supporter of ours than the Democrat Party will ever be, or ever been, to be frank. There's a reason why we have Neve Trump. It's called. It's Trump Heights, if you will, right? It's a beautiful neighborhood that is named after Donald Trump because of his contributions to Israel and how much most of us, or I would rather say all the sane Israelis, respect him for. And yeah, we really hope he will be chosen. But they also, I think, knew that he will be elected unless they rig the election very badly. And this, at this point, doesn't matter whether we get Miss Stowe, I call her, or our beloved Donald Trump and JD. Sadly, even the Democrats don't want her. The Democrats don't like to have a woman in power, by the way, hilariously enough. So that's known that the Democrats cannot fathom, truly, at least the old school ones, they cannot fathom a woman being, the first, being a president, sorry. Not the first lady, being a president, so they cannot fathom that. It's so they themselves, they're probably just gonna sabotage her some way, and her vice president will be subsequently somebody who they actually want to be installed in the government. But then you're gonna have it's gonna be full-on madness in the U.S. if at all. Or maybe they will be manipulating her, if at all. Again, it's just insane that they would go with that play, because I know they cannot. They don't want a woman in power. Democrats themselves hate. They are sexist as it gets. Be attentive, boys and girls. The Democrats have as much to do with democracy as much as I have to do with dolphins. Okay, that's just the real reality of things. So I mean, it's a travesty that the Democratic Party is even called this way. I mean, they have as much to do with democracy as I have to do with I don't know, with volcanic ash, or I don't know, some insect from a different galaxy. Okay, that's how far apart Democrats and democracy are. It's hilarious. What else? I've heard about both Santa and Easter Bunny. Wow, we're still on those. Gotcha. You heard, yeah. You see, guys, you really helped me get through this. It really helps improve the mood. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I'm gonna do a late, market close today. Later call, a later live. I'm not sure. Not because I'm being under the weather. I have multiple sessions that I'm kind of late to, and stuff to do. So, yeah, and we'll see. We'll see how the market will pan out. Although I still might, but I think we've gone long enough for this live. I really appreciate everyone showing up. Sorry again if I bummed you out by being a little bit more quieter today, a little bit tamer today. It's just, like I said, had this personal thing that happened, so it is what it is. No worries, Chris. Again, it is my pleasure. Otherwise, I don't think I would have done it. Like, to be frank, yeah, I'm definitely in that mood that I will not do anything I don't feel like doing right now. So, yeah. No worries, Gene. No worries. You guys don't need to thank me for this. Uh, Thank you for showing up, if anything. Big hug to all of you people who gave me a hug, dealing with this stuff. So, thank you. You're all great people. And, yeah, have a wonderful beginning of, an upcoming or an up have a wonderful upcoming new trading month, right? And let's all get ready to have a pleasant closure of this month. That's it, boys and girls. Let's hope we have a great week this week. До свидания. До свидания, Murat. Thank you very much for showing up. Love you all. You all have a great day. Bye bye.